Hi, this is Bill Punch, and I'm here with another video in Michigan State University's Introduction to Computer Science using Python, CSE 231. Today we're going to discuss nested while loops, much the same way that we discussed nested if statements in a previous video. Let's get started. So like we said in the nested if statement, what does nesting mean? Nesting means that what can be in the suite of a while loop. To nest is to say, in the suite of a while loop, we will have yet another while loop. If you'll remember, this was our picture of the sort of standard while loop. What we want to talk about is if the suite for this while loop has as part of its suite another while loop. What would that look like? What does that mean to us? And like before, I mean, it's useful to note that what can go in a suite, anything we want. It could be another while loop, it could be an if statement. It's basically anything that we can code in Python can be part of a suite, but it's worth looking at nested while loops as another example. So here is a nested while loop, and like we did with the nested if statements, I think it's worth looking at the structure to understand what's going on. This is the outer edge of the program. These statements are all at the outer indentation level, and so they're all part of the main program. We need to look then at the things that are nested underneath header statements, in this particular case 2 whiles. So here's one while statement. This is all part of its suite. This all belongs to this while statement. This will run when this conditional becomes true. Nested within there is another while statement. Here's its suite. It's all part of that nested while statement. This suite will run when the statement becomes true. A couple things to look at. We're going to have a bunch of variables, so 2 limits, an outer limit and an inner limit. A counter, we're going to use this to count how many times the inner loop runs. We have an initialized variable called outer, and outer is going to be part of the outer loop's conditional. We're going to have another variable inner, and inner is going to be used in the inner loop's conditional. How's this going to work? Let's think about it for a second. Outer starts at 0, and the question is 0 less than 3? And it will. The very first time through, we'll run this whole suite. We'll do a print statement, and then we'll run the inner loop, and the question will be inner starts at 0, so is 0 less than 3? It is. And this suite will run. Inner will go up by 1, counter will go up by 1. Come back to the top of the while loop because this is part of the suite. Now inner becomes 1. Is 1 less than 3? It is. We run it again. Inner goes up by 1. Inner is now 2. Run the loop, go back again. Inner becomes 3. Is 3 less than 3? It is not. Right? Less than or equal? Yes. Less than? No. So that loop will end, and we will then continue on with the rest of the outer while loop and go back to the top. Outer was 0, now 1. Is 1 still less than 3? It is, and we go back in. We reset inner back to 0, and then we run the whole inner while loop again. It's going to go through 0, 1, 2. When it hits 3, we're going to stop iteration, kick out, do the outer while loop. That while loop goes to 2, go back to the inner while loop, go through 0, 1, 2, and 3, come back up to the top, 3. Finally, that will kick us out, and we'll end there. The question then is, or one question to ask yourself, how many times does this statement run? Counter plus equals 1. Counter starts at 0. What's counter going to be at the end of this run? Let's go ahead and run it and find out. 9. Counter, which was the variable we print out here, has run 9 times. Why is that? Essentially what we're doing here is multiplication. So the outer loop is going to run 3 times. Every time the outer loop runs, the inner loop runs 3 times. So the inner loop is going to run 3 times. Every time the outer loop runs, it's going to run 3 times, 3 times 3, 9 times. This statement inside the while loop is going to run 9 times. It's kind of like multiplication. It's important to note where we do our initialization. It was important that inner was initialized here. Imagine that inner had been initialized, and so let's just go ahead and do this. Let's comment that out. Let's copy the statement, and let's put it out here. What's going to happen now to the inner loop? Let's think for a second. The outer loop is going to go through the same values. Right? Starts at 0, ask is 0 less than 3, it is. Inner while loop is going to run, it's going to go through the values 0, 1, 2, 3, and kick out at that point. Come back around, re-execute the inner while loop. And what is that going to be? The inner while loop is going to run and ask the question, inner is still 3. So the inner while loop ran once, and then it will run never again. So when we execute this statement, count is going to have the value of what? 3. So it's important that we get the order of these things correct because it affects how the loop's going to run. If we change this to 5, what will count be? 15. Just like I said, it's going to go through count number of times. It's going to be 15. So things to remember. Number 1, nesting acts like kind of a multiplier on the inner loop. The total number of times it runs is inner times outer. If we do the initialization right, which is 2, where you initialize your variables is important. And then 3, a detail, where a break statement to occur inside the inner suite. Break only breaks out one level. So this break would break out of this suite, and it would break out to the outer suite of the while level. So a break only breaks out one level of suite.